Anybody have a question?
Chris, overall, what was the difference tonight?
I think first congratulate Memphis and Coach Hardaway. From where I was sitting, Memphis was emotionally attached to this game. All types of storylines, rivalry game. Last year we won the game in Memphis. Tyrese, one of the great competitors I've ever coached, had the pleasure and honor to coach him at Texas. He was our point guard. Musa, a great person, talented player. Going to be emotionally attached to this game. He was in our program last year. Just going down the line. Last time Memphis played at home, lost to an SEC team. So it was very obvious from where I was sitting. They were emotionally attached to the game. We matched that part of the game for segments of the game, but nowhere near the 40 minutes that it would have required today to play better.
Along those lines, Chris, you mentioned they got off to a great start. You guys came back, cut it to 2 at the half. Then they kind of did it again in the second half. Were you surprised by what happened early in the second half, or what did you sort of attribute that to?
Had disappointed, but not surprised. My thing, it's a player's game. We have to do a better job, embracing each possession. We've got some veteran guys that played a long time. It's just like they think everything's just going to be okay. And when you're playing against a team like Memphis that, again, in my opinion, was emotionally attached to this game, you don't have that margin for error. But certainly the start in the first half and the start of the second half was really the difference in the game.
Chris, a two-part question. Having coached Musa last year and seeing what he was able to do today, in what ways do you feel like he's a different player than he was last year? And then secondly, when Mikal got the flagrant and was ejected, how do you feel like the inside game changed, if it did at all, just after he went out?
Well, first of all, Musa, I'm a big fan of Musa. We got the Ole Miss job. He was the guy that we wanted to come in, kind of start the recruiting class. He worked really hard in our program last year. Nothing but praise to say about Musa as a person and as a player. I think what I saw tonight, and again, he's not my player anymore, but just my opinion, you asked the question. I think Musa is one of the best players in college basketball when he knows who he is and he does all the things that he can do well. And that's what I saw tonight. He rebounded, he run, he affected shots, made free throws tonight. He's worked really hard on that over the years. So, congratulations to Musa. He's a guy that I'll always pull for. Once a player in our program, always a player. He made a business decision like all players have the opportunity to do at the end of the season. But I've always been a fan of Musa. Second part of your question was about Mikal. That hurt. Mikal was our most physical player. He can match up with their bigs the best. He was on the way to have a double-double tonight at 8 points, 7, 8 rebounds. Was going to be a big focal point of our second half game plan. And then, he can't play in the second half. So that hurt us, obviously.
There's no moral victories, but one of the silver linings today was that you had really good minutes from Klafke. How do you kind of evaluate his performance?
Yeah, I would agree with you. No moral victories. I thought our 2 freshmen played well tonight. Klafke played hard, energetic, played the game the right way, was aggressive on second catch, had a couple of freshman-type turnovers, but I'm more than willing to live through those moments with him because he's a talented player that impacts our team with his emotion, how hard he plays. And he, for the most part, he does what we need to be done, doesn't try to get outside of his role. I was also impressed with John Bowles' performance tonight. Again, playing against 2 grown men that have been playing for a long time here at Memphis, but I thought JB did some good things. Above all, I thought he competed. Had a short-term memory, would make a mistake and came right back and had a positive impact in the game. So that was some positive. We're going to need those 2 freshmen to help us as we enter SEC play.
Conversely, though, you didn't get really good minutes from Matt and Jamin, some of the veterans. How do you kind of get to them as you approach SEC play?
Yeah, those are questions for those players. I always thought in college coaching we don't speak for our players. We got to coach better than we did tonight. We got to play better than we did tonight. But certainly there's some individual performances on this stat sheet that, we're not going to be successful, if 4 or 5 of our best players don't bring their A game. And so, but those are great questions for those players.
Hey, Coach, other than making shots, Kobe Rogers had one of his better games than Denver. What did he do or you guys did not do to let him do what he did?
Number 3? Yeah, legitimate shooter. Give Penny a lot of credit for spacing this thing out. He's a shot maker, shoots with confidence, doesn't need a lot of time to get it off. I would tell you, though, Tyrese is a big reason why these guys get going. You think Tyrese played great tonight? I mean, hell yeah, he did. He didn't have to score 20 points tonight, and that's what a point guard does. Tyrese has worked really hard to develop into this, so I think he'll be a pro because he can play like a point guard. Maybe next game he drops 25 in here talking to you guys here in a couple of days. But tonight, from where I was sitting, he didn't have to score. He got his teammates involved. He played defense. I'm a big fan of Tyrese. Well, a lot of different players on the floor for sure in college basketball. I guess there's a couple guys returning, but not many. I know a little bit about last year's game because we obviously watched it in early preparation of this game. But, basketball is a game of making shots, too. You got to make some shots. We made shots last year. Shouldn't have been the difference in the game, but it's obviously going to be the difference in the outcome. Our guys have got to embrace what it's going to be like playing on the road this year. We played at Louisville. We played at Memphis today. We got 9 of these coming in the SEC. But I certainly think, where the game's played has a little bit of impact on these 2 games we've had against Penny.
Coach, do you feel like this was a wake-up call going into SEC play?
No, I don't think so because we were prepared for this game. Our players understood that Memphis was going to be emotionally attached, coming off a home loss. Players in the program that had personal motivation to play well. I hope not. You start talking about wake-up calls, it's like you didn't understand what was about to happen. And so I can't say a lot, but I can tell you our guys understood that we felt like Memphis was about to play their best game of the season, and they did in a lot of ways.
In totality, just through 13 games of non-conference play, is there a primary concern that you have going into conference play, or just what do you kind of make of that through 13?
Yeah, I think all coaches have concerns until it's Monday night around 11 p.m. and you're holding the trophy. And I think with our concerns, it's no secret. It's Captain Obvious. We've got to figure out the rebounding game, get out rebounded tonight against a team that I don't think rebounding is Memphis' strength. Could be at some point with the talent they have and the coaching you have here. But right now, that was the game within the game, no doubt about it. That's a concern of mine. I think our physicality, we got a lot of shot makers. We don't have a Haggerty type guy on our team that's going to go demand the ref to call the foul. Aggressive downhill guy that wants the contact, seeks the contact. Victory is always going to favor the team that makes the most free throws, gets the most free throws. Tonight, Memphis plus 10 on free throws. Give them credit. They were the most aggressive team tonight for the majority of the game. Our segments of success in this game, I think, were when we were the most aggressive. But in a 40-minute game, the most aggressive team is always going to have the favor of victory.
Chris, they turned y'all over, I think, as many times as you average in the first half alone. What does Memphis do defensively that makes them so disruptive?
Yeah, it starts with their coaching. They set it up with the soft press. It's just kind of nagging on you. We had a couple mistakes, a couple freshman mistakes. I thought they were in the gaps really well. They were obviously playing a scouting report on Juju early. If I'm not mistaken, they might have slid the scouting report over to Matt later on. I think in the first half, probably a combination of some careless mistakes that we can absorb a couple, but we can't absorb. We can't be sitting there at halftime and have 7 or 8 turnovers. Second half, we did a better job at taking care of the ball. So we'll just have to keep working on that.
Last question. I felt like when you went to bowl, maybe it was an attempt to answer Cisse. I guess what went into your decision to play bowl, and how big of a piece could he be in the rebounding question?
Yeah, John Bowles a part of our rotation in terms of matchups and him deserving an opportunity. Got a lot of confidence in John. He played really well the game before Christmas in first half minutes. So somewhat of it's him just deserving the opportunity, the way he's been improving over time in Oxford. Tonight, matchups, of course, we had a little bit of foul trouble in the front end, but above all, John deserved that opportunity and made the most of it. If he continues to run his own race, which I'm confident he will, his role in minutes and opportunities should increase. I thought John came to play tonight. Sometimes with freshmen, you look at it, they're a little nervous. Not scared. We don't recruit scared guys, but nervousness is a part of this when you play at this stage, and I didn't see that in John's eyes. He was playing really impressed. He made a defensive mistake and then came right back down on the court and got us a big basket. And so short-term memory and the ability just to respond. And again, he's playing against grown men. I don't know how old Danger is, and I know how old Musa is. These are grown men, and John Bull's out there fighting. So there's some positive tonight, no doubt. And the same with Klafke.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Happy New Year.